Hi and welcome to this channel. My name is Rebecca and today I've got a sort of knitting podcast, but not the usual structure. Today I've got a little bit of a knitting update that I'm really excited about. So I'm embroidery and I've been to Barcelona visiting my friend and I did kind of like a yarn crawl that she planned, but I was not planning to. And surprise, surprise, I managed to keep it in a budget. I'm planning to make this new type of format where I show you what I've been working on creatively the previous month. And in this case, I ditched all of my summer plans because I like pain. I decided to knit with wool and I cast on a second Olga Jacket, which is that really famous pattern from Petite Knit that everyone has done at this stage, including myself, because this is my second version. But my aim was to use yarn that I had in stash and to hack it to make a few modifications, starting with the gauge. So I'll show you first where I'm at with it, because before I start yapping, you may want to see how cool it is, because it's not going to look like an Olga Jacket. This is my very cool end of summer cardigan, I guess, more than a jacket. I think it also deserves for me to wear it. Look at that. Hello. And it's fitting so good. Yes, I was knitting on summer project and then I don't know why I started looking at the cabinet and I knew I wanted to knit with these two colors, and this is Fonti BB Merino. I was watching Menon this morning, Eat Your Fibers in Instagram, and she was also like making some of her ultraviolet scarf samples in this yarn, and it's something that I thrifted on Vinted maybe end of last year, something like that. I had these two colors. It's a super wash yarn and it has 200 meters and 50 grams, and I knew that I wanted to do stripes with this, and basically my aim was to use a pattern that I already have and hack it to make it a little bit different, because I'm always purchasing more patterns than I actually knit. And the thing is, I really like the Olga Jacket as a pattern because it's easy to follow, but it's in the gauge and I wanted to do fingering, so I've made a little bit of math and I'll probably put like a video with an overhead so you can actually see this before I actually block it, and it's working really well. Another modifications that I want to make are to make this a polo neck instead of a round neck, and if I had enough yarn, which I know I'm not gonna have, I would like a lot a double knitted bottom band. Change the stripes, change the gauge, and I filmed a little bit of this when I was like mid-waist, so I'm gonna put a clip here because I think you're gonna see it much better literally on this table if I just film overhead, and then I'll be back. Here we go. So I've been working deliberately on my Olga Jacket modified, and the Olga Jacket is usually 4x4 stripe type of pattern, but I've done 8 rows of the orange one and 4 of the blue one because I had more of this than the blue one, so just to not play yarn chicken. And this all is what I've done with like a 1.75 of the yarn and almost the same of the blue, and I'm already at the waist. So my idea will be to actually do a polo neck if this would allow, just because I've always liked the stripe overload by Spectacle Streak, and maybe I can do it in some other yarn and then try it here. Regarding the gauge, a few modifications that I made, and I actually noted them in here, were the gauge of the original pattern is 20 stitches and 30 rows. It was made in pure Gint and in 4mm and 3.5. However, this gauge is much smaller. I did not swatch and block this, so I wouldn't advise anyone to do that. Always swatch and block because it's super washes. See how bouncy that is? In my experience, I've swatched this in rib and it did not grow more than 1 centimeter, and I would be fine with that. Reason is because my gauge is 26 and 34 rows. So I've got 6 more stitches and I'm knitting in 3.5 and I've knitted size 4, but after I've done all of the math, I should have knitted size 5 or large, and I'm knitting the medium one. However, I'm hoping that I can put some clip right now. If it's okay, I think I'm just gonna have like around 8 centimeters of positive ease before blocking, and so far it's going really well. I think that this pattern, if you're willing to do a little bit of math, is actually really easy to keep as a template for other jackets, or to, in my case, just play a bit with different neck finishes. At the stage I'm in right now, I've actually have blocked it and I'm at the perfect length for me. The width and the depth of this is perfect. I think this is going to start the round of me looking back at patterns that I've actually made and enjoyed and hacking them. Yeah, if you are in the same position, you have the Olga Jacket, you've made it and you love it, please consider hacking it to make it in a fingering weight yarn or even a sport weight yarn, because it really is just spending 10 minutes doing some math and it's super rewarding. Currently, I'm trying to make an ivy top because I thought, okay, I have to do like a summer top. Literally next week it's going to be again 30-31 degrees. Today it's almost raining and I want to get rid of this yarn because I'm in my orange era, like a friend of mine says. But I was on one of the last days just meeting friends of my friend and we were sitting outside the museum having a coffee and knitting, and it was lovely. And one of them was wearing an ivy top and she was wearing it with one of those skirt/shorts from Uniqlo. And I was like, oh my god, I actually love the whole outfit. And guess what? I literally bought the same skirt because he let me try it on. And I cast on the ivy top, which is peculiar as a construction because I'm like, was this meant to be like a saddle shoulder? Because you literally cast on for the whole circumference of your neck and she tells you to cast on tight. And I was like, Petite Knit, Met, you don't know me. I cast on very tight already and I have a big head, so I'm not gonna do that. But you cast on from the neck and then you start doing some short rows and you can start seeing the saddle developed, saddle contiguous. I need to go back to that dictionary. But you start to see the construction develop, and then I know at some point I'm gonna have to stop knit just one of the sides. The only thing that I'm worried about is that the cast on is in the middle of the back. I'm not a fan of this in color work, so we'll see how it goes in here. This is literally the start because I've been knitting on that cardigan for like a really long time. I just leave it prepared so that the heat wave comes next week and I jump from wool to actually, I think this is like linen cotton. You've seen it before probably because I've cast on so many projects with a yarn that is like actually embarrassing. I want to talk now about some embroidery. I visited Barcelona because I have a knitter friend. Her name is Marta, but her handle is Quarantine Knitter. Honestly, if you want inspiration, you just have to follow her on Instagram. She's a multi-crafter. She hosted me and she's super generous, and she had it all so planned, except that I was so humbled by the heat in Barcelona because that level of humidity I've never experienced in my life, so I'm never gonna complain that it's too hot in Galicia ever again. In one of those days, I think actually was the first day when we were doing the yarn crawl, we stumbled upon a cute little bookshop that was so charming. Next to the till there was this book, which is like a short story / graphic novel. Obviously, it's full of images that are asking me to do something, and I'm not gonna need this, but I can embroider it because I've been back on my second love, which is embroidery. When I stumbled upon this, I was like, I need to embroider this. Not because it's also Halloween vibes, which it gives Halloween vibes, but because the story is really cool and I think it would be a nice way to play with color. So I went to the flea market the other day because I did not have enough thread, which is a theme, not only in our yarn. And I'm currently, my needle's here. At this stage, I've decided to do the top part in purple and the bottom part in like this nice green, is a little bit tealy. And my idea was to, if you take a look at this, instead of doing the filling with black, I'm gonna fill the parts that are in white so that the background is this terracotta linen that I have. I'm using the opposite color of what I've used above, and I think it's gonna look really cool. And I found embroidery super, super relaxing. And it's a bit ASMR for me as well, the sound of like stitching. That is just perfect for like focusing in and taking things slow. It's like if I'm here with energy, this will lower it down. I also wanted to give a gift to a friend that is recovering from a complicated illness, and I've actually been also stitching. This is going to be like your classic tablecloth, like an individual mantelpiece, I think it's called. You cannot see it drawing, but I've got like a vase with flowers in here, a glass here, and then in the middle I put like good lunch in Galician. In this stage, if I just do the outline, I think she can just, it's linen, so she can just like wash it and not over worry about it because again it's a tablecloth. And this is like a really good idea for like, even, I'm just gonna say it, even like Christmas gifts. It really takes no time. I've done all of that maybe 2 hours or something like that while watching the telly. Those are my projects. Now I'm gonna insert a little bit of a clip of my visit to Barcelona because on day 1 we went to 3 different yarn shops, but also to 2 haberdasheries. One of them sells yarn and one of the other ones has been open since I think it was 1934, 1936. So these are just some of the places that my friend knows they're special and that she took me to, and then I'll show you what I got in each of them, but also And also considering some buttons that I thrifted on flea market, I spent 29 euros. I'm rounding it up actually. I didn't bought a lot because I treated this more like a sampling experience. So you know when you want to like choose menu for an event and you need to sample the food? I think that sometimes when it comes to knitting podcast or knitting content, we go a little bit bananas with yarn hauls, and that's absolutely fine if you can afford it. Brings you joy, go for it. But I think there's a lot of us that maybe cannot afford spending like 200 euros in yarn at this moment because winter is coming and the price of electricity is going to be absolutely bonkers and everything is so expensive. I find that, I don't know if it happens to you there, but like all of us are being very wary of where we spend the money because we are afraid of what's coming next. So I knew that I wanted to keep it really in a budget, and I am an anti-FOMO girl at this stage in my life with yarn. So if I need something, I'll probably can get it. And sometimes I've bought things before that have not been used and they're still sitting in my stash. And I did not want that to be this experience. My aim was really to get some cotton because I want to try some cotton for knitting and for crocheting that I cannot get in here because I don't see the branding here like in a physical shop. And the other thing that I wanted to try was getting hands on a yarn that the brand Shoya, which is a Catalonian brand, has launched recently, and it's a mix of merino and Catalonian sheep, and they had like really nice colors, and I knew that I wanted to try that. First we went to Miss Kate's, which is the one that hosts more commercial yarn. Has a sol. There's Mondial as well, which is the yarn that I wanted to try, and there's also like embroidery threads. It's like really nice. And there's some beautiful hand-dyed yarn as well, but I would say it's the more commercial one. I don't have the label anymore. In that yarn shop, I went and tried Mondial basic cotton because I just wanted to see if I could like to knit with it. Both my friends, Denise and Marta, have recommended me this cotton for knitting because sometimes I was complaining that knitting with cotton can be very uncomfortable with my hands and I can actually feel like a strain happening, especially in my wrists. And I have to say, I actually prefer it to the cotton melange that I've done my crochet project with. So I've got it in these two colors. I think one is 45 and the other one's 145. I'm really not sure, but like they go really well together. And on the second day, I took a 4mm hook and I asked Marta if she would just teach me to crochet in person because I've never had anyone teach me how to crochet in person, and it was humbling experience still, but I think there's a pattern for this. I'm just going to put it here, and there's a video which I don't remember what it is, but I started this bandana when we were in Paraguay. Will I finish it this year? I would like to think so. I cannot promise anything. I was just really curious about this yarn because it came highly recommended, and so far it's been really pleasant to crochet with it. In the same shop, I also got some embroidery cotton for a couple of friends. One of them already has hers, and I got like this. Oh, okay. There was a theme. I had these threads for my other friend that I'll give to her when I see her, hopefully next month. We move on to La Lana Lu, and La Lana Lu, we're gonna call it favorite one of this trip. Been looking forward to going there for a while. They are the people who run the shop, organize the festival, the Barcelona Knits Festival. One of them was there, super lovely. The yarn shop, small, but like full to the brims of like nice yarn, and they have commercial yarn like Knitting for Olive. They've got Wool Dreamers as well, and quite a few brands there that I've not seen before in real life. On the other hand, they have hand-dyed yarn, and they also have their own yarn. And at the back of the shop, they were just doing some teaching, and they have chagu needles, they've got buttons in there. I think there's a little bit of everything for every budget. I was really happy to say that I bought Peuja, which is the Catalonian brand that I was saying that I would like to buy from Shoya, and she just launched this, which is fingering weight, but I think it's a bit more thick than your usual fingering weight yarn. And I cast on while I was there just a pair of like normal boring socks, and I'm not a sock knitter, but I think I can finish this, and it's just as bright as you see it, but I think with loafers it would be like really cool. Just so that you can see, ignore the bits where my tension is bananas, because that's just me. I don't think you need 2.5 unless you're super loose knitter. I think with 2.75 you'll still be okay. They had like really nice colors, and most of them were toned down, but they had like a really nice kiwi kind of green this red, there was a really nice blue. It's not like the poppy blue from Knitting for Olive, which I also saw in person. But all it's just cool to support local brands that put a lot of love and effort to recover wool from local sheep. At some point in life, which is mental, it was considered waste. So really happy with how this is knitting and with this yarn, which is what I wanted just to try. I never have like labels. I bought like a label in Catalonia that says the equivalent of like, if knitting makes you happy, include the dose of yarn. And I'll probably put, if not in this cardigan, I'll probably make a sweater this winter and I'll put the wee label. From there we went to Nouveau Fields, which is a haberdashery, and I think this is my hot take. When people from other countries sometimes travel to Spain, they think that the same knitting experience that you get in Denmark is the same knitting experience that you're gonna get in here. And obviously the climate is different and so are the traditions. I think in Spain we have like very, very strong textile traditions. So embroidery, crocheting, very popular here, but also knitting. It's just that you have to think a little bit of something different. So you won't experience Copenhagen, but my claim here is to reivindicar the power of haberdasheries, because haberdasheries are a cool place to visit if you're going on a holiday. I'll just say that. So this haberdashery also has yarn, is full to the brims of beautiful bottoms, ribbons, anything you actually need, fabric and thread as well. So the owner is super nice. My friend teaches in there and she was telling me that it's just a great shop that has been open in another location. It was open when she was wee and she used to go with her grandmother, which I think is really cool. I went there and it took me forever to choose something. First, I was able to match the embroidery thread that I needed. This is DMC and I had started like a tote bag freaking ages ago. I'm so embarrassed that I've not finished it yet, but it's because I ran out of thread. And I got like 2 of this, and then it took me forever to actually choose buttons, but I found this super cool V-star button. I got, oh, this is like OG makeup content now. I've got these really cute buttons. And I could have taken many more things. I was just going on a budget, but I highly encourage you, if you're visiting Barcelona, stop there. Also, a lot of the yarn was on sale, so please visit a local haberdashery because haberdasheries deserve a little bit more of love. Wow, 25 minutes yapping about yarn. After that, I think this might be the only place where I didn't buy anything. We went to Merceria Santa Ana. That was bonkers. That place has been, it's closer to the city center because we were on our way to All You Need Is Love, which is the last yarn shop that I visited. And it's a massive haberdashery. Like if you ask for ribbon or bias, you will be met with like 125 types of bias or ribbon. It's insane. If you need something, if you're a sewist, you have, like, I don't know how to tell you, you have to go there. If you need buttons, you have to go there. It's just really impressive, and there were a lot of people, but honestly it's so worth a visit. And again, instead of being focused on visiting a yarn shop, go there, get some of the notions that we always forget as knitters. If you sew, it's your flipping paradise. There's also yarn, there's more like cotton yarn and like blends, but it's so good. And it's been open, yeah, since I can't remember. I'll put it on the screen, or you probably see in the video, 34, I think it's 1934. So many shops have closed, so the fact that this is still up, alive, running and being successful, it was just a pleasure to witness. So please, if you're in Barcelona, go pay a visit. We have All You Need Is Love, and All You Need Is Love is literally full to the brims of like beautiful hand-dyed yarn on one side, and they have their own yarn, and the colors were so amazing. All You Need Is Love is like going to Dante's Inferno and being met in the first circle with all of the yarn that you wish you had money for, but you don't. It's a bit more the expensive side for me, not because it's expensive, just because it's out of my budget. They have really beautiful hand-dyed yarn. It's not a really big shop, but it's very, very charming. And they had like samples made with their hand-dyed yarn. They had some beautiful boucle made in like really vibrant colors, some beautiful suri, honestly, anything. And then that's on the left. And on the other side of the right, you're met with the reality. So it's like expectations versus reality. So we have there some more yarn, but a bit more affordable, and some superwash as well. So I like when yarn shops make that, of like just making a little bit of a blend for all types of budget. And I got this from Hertergarn, Danish brand that I've seen online, never seen in real life. And yes, I got 100% wool and it's superwash. The thing that attracted me to this is the color, which is like a really, really dark brown. I find it really tricky to find like really, really dark brown, like close to the color of my hair, because I would like to make a cable sweater this winter. I'm gonna jinx it because I just said it, because I own one since I was 16 that is like made in cotton, but I would like to make the replica in wool, and I think this color is really cool. So again, this is a sampling experience, so I just got one because I wanted to try and test this wool. The funny thing of this is that it's superwash, but it doesn't feel like superwash. Like this feels like, I mean, this is also really nice, but it feels more bouncy superwash. This doesn't particularly feel like superwash. It feels like wool that's not been treated, but it's semi-soft. And I'm just really curious to know how this will work. It's called Vital Superwash. And I think the metric is similar to Drop Slimmer. 50 grams, 115 meters. But I find Drop Slimmer a little bit heavy. And yeah, I'm just curious to find out how this works. I think it was around 450. And that's all I got in that shop. There was a moment in which I was like, this close to just open the gates of hell and go a bit crazy, but then, you know, nothing like checking your bank account and being like, no girl, we're just skipping it here. And then the last day we went in the morning to, I guess you will call it the market, flea market. Oh my god, that was overwhelming. There was so much. Marta was really good at thrifting some really nice old frames, but I was so overwhelmed with all the options. But she took me to the stall where you can get like a bunch of buttons for, I think it was €2. So I got all of these buttons, which are like this one, by the way. Focus. There you are. I got all of these buttons. There you are, which are really nice. And I think this will be nice. I nailed it. For my, I keep on calling it the Maggie Garden, for my Olga jacket. I had like a lot of them for like €2, and that's all I got. This is my sampling yarn notion haul, and I spent, I tell you, rounding it up, €29 in Barcelona, and I got a little bit of everything, and I get to try a little bit of everything, and I came home and I had no regrets, which is what I like to do when I come home from my yarn haul. If you've watched until the end, thank you very much, because I've been postponing filming a podcast because I didn't have much to talk about, and I don't want to come here just to jab about things that mean nothing to me. And I hope you find this useful, inspiring, or it just kept you company while you've been knitting, to be honest, because that's why I like watching some knitting podcasts. I would like to make a video on YouTube recommendations of channels that I love to follow because they inspire me to create and not to consume. But I wonder if you would prefer me to drop some recommendations, say 2 or 3 at the end of these videos, instead of actually making a video dedicated to it. So please comment and let me know your feedback. I'll see you next month, and I hope you're well and you end your summer on a high. See you later.